There's something more terrifying than hearing footsteps in the woods at night, realizing they've been there the whole time, and you just never noticed. I was solo camping near Fairbanks, Alaska, deep within the White Mountains, a place I'd chosen precisely for its isolation. No traffic, no phone reception, no people. Just trees, wind, and the soft crunch of my boots against snow-crusted trails. I'd been there for 2 days already, and though the silence was almost unnerving at times, I welcomed the solitude. I needed it. Too much noise back home. Work stress, constant notifications, and a general sense of being watched, even in my own apartment. The woods, I figured, would quiet that noise. That afternoon, while boiling water for coffee beside a small fire, I heard the crunch of leaves and snow. I turned fast, instinctively clutching my small axe. That's when I saw him. A man, middle-aged, bearded, dressed like any other hiker. He had a sturdy pack slung over his shoulder and wore weathered hiking boots. His jacket was scratched in a few places, but nothing seemed out of place. He smiled as he approached, a warm, practiced smile. "Hey," he said, "do you know where the cabin is?" I blinked at him, unsure how to respond. I hadn't seen another person in miles, and even then, hikers usually announced themselves from a distance. Yell a "hello" or whistle, something to make sure they didn't startle other campers. This guy just appeared. "There might be one that way," I said, pointing toward a narrow trail I'd passed earlier. "Could be an old public use shelter. Not sure if it's still standing." He nodded thoughtfully. "Thanks," he said, then turned and walked away. I watched him go until the trees swallowed him. Something about it felt off. His footsteps didn't make much sound for someone walking on frozen earth, but I shook it off. Maybe I was just jumpy from being alone too long. That night, I was stoking the fire and journaling in my tent when I heard footsteps again. Slow, deliberate. I peeked out, and there he was. The same man. "I couldn't find the cabin," he said calmly, standing just beyond the firelight. "Can you show me?" There was something in his voice. Calculated, too smooth. I hesitated. "You don't have a tent?" I asked. He shook his head. "I thought I could make it to the shelter. I miscalculated. I just need a roof for the night." Against my better judgment, I agreed. The rational part of me, the one raised to help strangers, overruled the instinct that told me to keep him away. I grabbed my headlamp, a knife I kept by the fire, and told him to follow. We walked in silence for 10 minutes. The air had that sharp, dry chill that digs under your clothes. I could feel him just behind me, steps crunching in sync with mine. "There," I said, pointing ahead. The roof of the cabin peaked above the brush, just like I remembered. A decaying structure of weather-worn logs sagging under the weight of years. The windows were shattered. One of the shutters hung loose, creaking gently in the wind. It looked like it hadn't housed a soul in decades. "That's not it," he said, flatly. "It's the only one I've seen," I replied. He didn't answer. Instead, he just stood there, staring at the cabin like it was a puzzle he couldn't solve. I started walking closer, hoping to at least confirm the place was abandoned. Maybe we could both head back and figure out another solution. I was about 5 feet from the door when I realized he'd stopped following. I turned. He was 10 feet back, holding a knife. Not a utility knife, not a camping blade, a large, serrated hunting knife angled slightly in his hand. His expression was vacant, and his eyes didn't blink. He wasn't angry, he wasn't yelling, he was mechanical, like a voice on an old answering machine, flat, rehearsed, empty. My heart slammed into my ribs. I ran. Branches whipped my face, thorns tore at my jacket, but I didn't stop. I didn't even look behind. I ran until I couldn't hear his footsteps, until the only sound was the wind in the trees and my own ragged breathing. I found a shallow ravine and crawled behind a fallen log, heart hammering so loud I was sure it would give me away. I waited. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. No footsteps, no light, no voice calling for me. I crept back toward my camp, every shadow looking sharper than it had earlier. When I arrived, something immediately felt wrong. My fire was still burning. Not the dwindling coals I'd left behind, but fully stoked, like someone had been tending it. And my backpack was sitting directly in the middle of my camp. I had taken it with me. I know I had. I remember slinging it over my shoulder before we left. It had my knife, food, my water filter. Now it was here, placed carefully, like someone wanted me to see it. Then I heard the humming, a low, tuneless hum just beyond the firelight. He stepped out from the trees, slow, deliberate, like he'd been waiting for me to return. His hands were in his jacket pockets, and he looked entirely at ease, like this was his camp and I was the intruder. He didn't say anything, just crouched by the fire and poked at it with a stick. That was it. That was my breaking point. I ran. I didn't care about my bag, my gear, or even the cold. I sprinted to the main trail and followed it as fast as I could, not daring to look back. Every twist in the path felt like a trap. Every rustling branch was him. But I didn't stop. I kept running until I saw headlights. A pair of hikers had parked along the trailhead down the road and were gearing up for a late-night hike. I burst from the woods like a madman, covered in mud, out of breath, wild-eyed. They nearly ran. Once I calmed down enough to speak, I tried to explain, but even as I told it, the words felt unreal. A man with no gear, asking for a cabin that may not even exist. A knife, a second fire, a silent figure humming beside my own campsite like he belonged there. They agreed to wait with me until morning. At first light we returned with a ranger, but there was nothing. No footsteps, no second fire, no man, no cabin. I walked the trail again, sure I'd find the old path, but the trees looked different, denser. There was no trail, no clearing, no ruins, like the whole place had never been touched. The ranger gave me a tired smile, the kind they probably practice for people who've been out alone too long. Stress, cold, and isolation do strange things to the mind, he said. But I know what I saw. I remember the feel of that knife in his hand, the sound of his humming, the way the fire crackled like it had been fed with care. I remember how calm he was, like none of it was strange, like he'd done this before. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I'd gone inside that cabin. Would the door have shut behind me? Would I have found something worse than a knife? Or maybe I would have never come out at all.